The morning sun crawled slowly across the hospital window, casting pale stripes of gold over the trembling hands of a man who once believed he was unbreakable. Farooq had always been the type of person others leaned on: strong shoulders, steady eyes, and a laugh loud enough to shake away worries. Yet now, as he sat alone on the thin hospital mattress, a tightness twisted inside him that was more than pain. It was fear, regret, and the sudden realization that the body he had taken for granted was finally demanding something he had never given it care. His stomach churned with a deep heaviness, the same feeling he had ignored for months, maybe years. And in that moment, staring at the quiet hallway outside, he felt his world shrink to the size of a heartbeat, fragile, uncertain, begging to be heard. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in taking responsibility for your health and your life, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps stories like this reach the people who need them most. Farooq had grown up in a house where emotions were swallowed whole, hidden beneath layers of duty and silence. His father worked long shifts, his mother juggled everything else, and meals were rushed moments squeezed between responsibilities. Farooq never learned the language of self-care. Fast food became comfort, skipping meals became normal, and ignoring pain became a habit passed down like an inheritance. By the time he reached adulthood, he was living life at full speed, grabbing quick bites, working long hours, and convincing himself that rest was a luxury and health was something he would deal with later. But later came crashing into him one night in the form of a burning ache so sharp it felt like someone was twisting his insides with a fist made of fire. He had doubled over on his couch, unable to breathe properly, the room spinning as he tried to understand what was happening. When he finally gathered the strength to reach the hospital, his world tilted between blurry lights and muffled voices. The doctors ran tests and asked questions, but Farooq could barely hear anything over the silent storm inside him, a fear raw, consuming, overwhelming. The next morning, the doctor explained gently that Farooq's digestive system was exhausted. Years of unhealthy habits, irregular eating, stress, and negligence had slowly worn down the one thing that quietly supported every part of his life: his stomach. It wasn't a single event, it was a build-up, a long story of small choices piling into consequences. The doctor didn't scold him. Instead, he spoke with a softness that made Farooq's chest tighten even more. "Your body isn't your enemy," he said. "It's been trying to communicate with you for a long time. You just weren't listening." Those words stayed with Farooq like a haunting melody. He was discharged later that afternoon, but he didn't go home right away. Instead, he walked aimlessly through the city, watching people live their lives, laughing, eating, talking, carrying their burdens. It all felt distant, surreal. He kept replaying his life: the skipped breakfasts, the late-night greasy meals, the stress he swallowed instead of releasing, the way he dismissed every warning sign because he thought he was too young to suffer. It wasn't just physical pain, it was emotional. His stomach had become a reflection of his life, overloaded, neglected, and desperately calling for change. Days passed, and the pain eased, but the memory of it stayed sharp. Farooq finally realized that healing wasn't only about avoiding sickness, it was about honoring the delicate systems that kept him alive. For the first time in his life, he began paying attention. He started waking up early, boiling warm water to sip slowly. He began eating meals with intention, appreciating the colors, textures, and nourishment in real food. His pantry changed: fresh fruits replaced processed snacks, vegetables replaced instant noodles, and water replaced the sugary drinks he once gulped daily. But the journey wasn't as smooth as he expected. Old habits clawed back, Stress tested him. There were nights he felt the urge to fall into familiar patterns, nights when loneliness made him crave comfort food, and mornings when waking up early felt impossible. Healing, he learned, wasn't a straight path. It curved, wavered, stumbled, and required patience he never knew he had. What made it harder was that his life around him didn't slow down. Work pressures continued. Financial burdens lingered. People still expected the strong, unshakable Farooq they had always known. But he was learning to be honest not just with the world, but with himself. He learned to say no. He learned to prioritize rest. He learned that self-care wasn't selfish, it was survival. One evening, after a long day, he sat by his window, watching the fading sunlight melt into the horizon. There was a quiet peace in the air, the kind that comes after a storm, but before the next chapter. He placed a hand over his stomach, feeling the gentle rise and fall of his breath. For the first time in a long while, he whispered a promise to himself, not a grand vow, not a dramatic declaration, but a simple commitment. I will listen. I will try. Weeks turned into months, and the changes began to reflect not just in his body, but in his soul. His face regained softness, his eyes regained light, and his days regained purpose. He felt stronger, not the forced, hollow strength of pretending, but the grounded strength of a person who had faced themselves and chosen a better path. He started learning more about how deeply the digestive system affects the entire body. He realized that a healthy stomach wasn't just about avoiding pain, it was about improving mood, sleep, energy, and overall life. His entire perspective changed. He began sharing his journey with close friends, encouraging them to pay attention to their bodies too. He became someone who advocated for balanced meals, hydration, mindful eating, and the small but powerful habits that nurture health. But the true transformation came one day when Farooq visited his parents. His mother, as always, rushed to serve tea and fried snacks, the usual comfort foods she believed would make her son happy. But this time, instead of silently eating, Farooq gently took her hand and explained his journey, the pain, the fear, the change, the healing. He told her how he was learning to take care of himself, and how he wanted her and his father to do the same. His mother's eyes softened with concern, guilt, and love all at once. She sat beside him, and for the first time in years, they shared a quiet conversation about health, stress, habits, and the things families often ignore. It was a moment of healing, not just for Farooq's body, but for the emotional wounds he had carried from childhood. They cooked together that evening, real, wholesome food, and the aroma filled the house with something warm, gentle, and new. As months continued, Farooq's life became a slow, beautiful transformation. He found balance in routines, joy in mindful meals, and gratitude in small victories. He didn't call it a diet, he called it respect for his body, his life, and his future. He knew pain might return someday, life might throw challenges again, and habits might slip, but he no longer feared it. He trusted himself now. He had grown, and in that growth, he discovered something profound. A healthy stomach wasn't just about digestion, it was about harmony, emotional balance, mental clarity, and the ability to live fully, not just survive. It was the foundation of a healthier, happier life. And Farooq had finally built that foundation with patience, courage, and self-love. Now, if this story touched your heart even a little, if it reminded you of someone you care about or made you think about your own health, please like, comment, and share. It helps the message reach people who might need a reminder that they matter, their bodies matter, and their healing matters. Before we end, take a moment to comment below. I choose a healthier life. Farooq's journey isn't just his alone, it's an invitation, a soft whisper to everyone watching. Listen to your body, honor your health, And remember that healing begins the moment you decide you deserve better.